Welcome to Rich Conversations. This is another one of our Rich Reflections sessions where we're going to take about, 30 to 50 minutes out of our day to simply just think more intentionally about our own life. And this is a special edition because I'm in the tractor, on the farm, in the fields. It's planting season. So I thought, hey, I'd like to invite you into my cab and let's have a good time here. So like we normally do, let's just set aside 5 minutes for breathing. And I'll set a timer. Now, I won't be kind of closing my eyes and breathing, but since I'm driving this tractor, John Deere 9200, I'll set a timer for 5 minutes though, so I will be with you here in spirit and begin. Sit in a comfortable position, with your back straight. Just breathe in and breathe out. Very simple. I've had some good sessions lately doing this. Felt very great. So if it helps, count one in and then one out. You're just breathing. And I'll be driving. I'm driving you right now so that you can, in the back seat here, just relax and breathe. Farm Daddy's got you. If your mind starts to wander with different thoughts, just simply let them pass. And just focus on the breath. Okay, so that was 5 minutes. Hard to hear the the alarm go off on the tractor. This may seem loud to you, but I feel that this tractor cab in particular, does a pretty fine job of noise reduction compared to some other tractors that I've been on. Actually, like, the newer ones too are really great with it. When I jumped from a burning tractor cab back in 2018, we still had to get the planting done, and while that tractor that I rode burst into flames and I jumped from the burning cab, we still had work to do. So luckily the next day we had a brand new John Deere tractor that was lent to us by a dealer, and I was on that, and I was not worried about that bursting into flames. It was brand new. Might have been in 2017, 2018, and yeah, that cab was great. So don't mind the noise in the background. But let's start this off with how we usually do, and that's, what are we grateful for? So many things to be grateful for. I'm grateful to be on this tractor right now on a Tuesday afternoon. It's late morning. Is it Tuesday afternoon? I don't know. I don't have my watch on. Time just kind of flies. You just going back and forth in the field. I listen to some podcasts, some music, some audiobooks sometimes. It all depends on my kind of flavor. But grateful to, just be out in nature, in the field. So, what's something that you're grateful for? It can be something small, something big. The important aspect of it is that it helps us take us outside of ourselves and place ourselves in the broader world, out of our head, out of our ego, to understand that the world in the universe doesn't revolve around us. It revolves around all of us working together, and we're a part of this. So practicing gratitude is a great way to just kind of get us in the mindset of being open to absorb information and be able to then process that information. Because if we're not grateful, we're closed, and we're not accepting of new information or stimuli in the world around us, and we can't grow. That's the issue. We can't grow then. If we ain't growing, we're dying. All right. Second question is, what's something that kind of brings us back in a moment of time? What is something that we do every now and then where we're brought back to certain memories? For example, the reason I bring this up is, I'm in this field. There's actually that one that I'm going to go in next. But what's cool about being out in the fields here on the farm, we're working up the same fields throughout the years, and everything is kind of the same as I left it. That oak tree is right there. This area right here is swampy and it's muddy, and I got to stay away from it. It's the same in a sense, but I'm different. I'm different every time. I'm a year older every single time. But I remember, the podcast episode that I listened to right there. I remember the music I was listening to right there. I remember that I was listening to a baseball game right here. And I think that's a really cool aspect, kind of an underrated thing of life. That to have that step back consistently on a yearly basis, and when we're not even thinking about it, it takes us into different places. So the field right next to us, I remember I was listening to the Steve Jobs audiobook, Jobs by Walter Isaacson, and I remember when I was in that field that it was on the chapter about the iPod and how the big coup for Steve Jobs was getting Bob Dylan and the Beatles in on like iTunes. I think it was like iTunes at the time, iPod, it was something like that. But I remember kind of those like keywords, Steve Jobs, and I affiliate it with this field. And like just aspects like that just bring me right back. So what's something for you that you can just kind of hop in the time machine with? I'm going to write these down so it's easier later when I write this up. Crazy with technology. I remember when I started to first notice that you could, like with your finger, tap on something, say like a podcast description, and you could select, like the select tool was now available. Like the software engineering and got to the point where they worked on it so that you could copy something that was in, say, a podcast description. Sometimes, like, when you tap on something on your phone, like, nothing happens, but the technology and software got better that you could then, like, select something and copy it and then paste it somewhere else. I was so happy when that happened. It's like, it's a feat in technology. And there's something on my mind. So what's something in technology that you're glad has improved? Now we do the headlands. After we go like up and down, then we do the headlands, do a few strokes of that. So that's what I'm going to be doing now. Turning it around. This is kind of the nitty-gritty aspect of what I'm doing. I'm working with the sunflower and digging up the land so that the planter coming behind me has a nice soft bed for the seeds to go in, kind of like tucking children into bed, right? Put them in a bed and they're in this soft covering. You don't want to just like ram the seeds into the ground. We're creating a nice bedding for it. and help promote growth that way. So I'm doing a couple strokes back here. Let's hope I don't get stuck this season. I believe all time I've only gotten stuck 4 times. Pretty sure it's 4 times. Either 3 or 4 times. It's definitely not 5 though. But like those are moments where those are moments where like you feel so bad, because usually what happens when I get stuck is that I'm a little overzealous, I'm a little overambitious, I'm not conservative. Like I want to get every slice of land, work up every aspect of land, and because of that I try to get real close, and so the ground can be really soft over here from water, and it's swampy, and I get, I get too close to it, and then I get stuck. It's happened no more than 4 times. I know that for sure, and it's quite embarrassing. So what's something that in our past, and hopefully not our future, hopefully we've learned our lesson from the past, that we're a little too overly ambitious about, and then there's negative consequences from it. It's so embarrassing, then you gotta ask someone to get you out of the situation, and it's just like maybe overconfidence, overzealousness, over ambition, mixed in with stupidity. There's nothing like a good moment of feeling stupid, Just very humbling. So what's a moment like that you've had before, that you've learned your lesson? You would think I would learn my lesson. The first time it could be a fluke, right? That's what you're thinking. Second time it's like, oh yeah. Third time, maybe some time passed, and you just like get overconfident. I think it was the second time I got stuck. Just an unbelievable bad place, because it was like far off in a field. It was on a hill, and it was raining, and I got stuck, and I felt so bad. The third time was the same place I got stuck the first time. And the fourth time was on this hill. Again, a hill. And just a little overzealous. But I should have known with the hill, with the trajectory. Like I've been on the tractor enough, I've worked ground enough where I should have known better. And but through those experiences, you know pretty well how to get out of getting stuck, as far as like hooking up the tractors together, chaining them together, pulling the tractor out. So then your mistake, it gets easier to correct. So that's another thing about making mistakes, is that we learn how to correct them, and we don't get as stressed out when they do happen. So what's something unfortunate that's happened, a mistake but through time you've been able to not let it stress you out. Maybe it's something with school, maybe it's something with work, maybe something in personal life, maybe it's like a relationship. You know, like yeah, you just learn, and things aren't too bad in that sense. Alright. Yeah, so did that headline? Let's get back to our regularly scheduled programming of going up and down. Oh, I gotta switch gears though. It's too slow. What's a word or letterings that trip us up? So I had mentioned regularly. I was really focusing on it that time I said it. Regularly. I have problems pronouncing my G's after IN, like skiing. I usually just drop the G, like, or hangers. I used to get made fun of so much because I couldn't pronounce my G's, or chose not to learn how to pronounce them. So it's something, as an adult, we still don't say properly. Yeah, so I'm out here during the day, and I bring with me some coffee, and I put it in this thermos I got from the Field Museum as a Field Museum member. I don't know if they still give out these nice like member gifts. I've gotten these big like zipper tote bags in the past. I have 2 of them. They're like bright blue, and I use them to put my media equipment in. It's great because it's large, so you can put a lot of stuff in it, but it has a zipper. The zipper is clutch. The only issue is that it's bright blue and it doesn't go with my color scheme. Same thing with this thermos. It's black, and I don't wear black. The only time I use this thermos is on the tractor during planting season to put my coffee in. You know, so if I'm on the tractor for 8 hours in the day, or 10 or 6 or whatever, I have my coffee supply. What's an item we only use once a year, but we're glad we have it? Other than that, I really don't use thermoses. The thing with this one is that it can close, and you can just kind of throw it around. You don't have to worry about spilling or having to keep it upright or anything. I can just kind of throw it around like this, not a problem. Those ones that you have to put the lid on and then you put it in your cup holder. I don't like those. Plus, this keeps it a good temperature. But yeah, what's a product we use once a year and that we're glad that we have for that time? Actually, the only other time I use it is when I camp out and I want coffee for the next morning. And it still keeps pretty hot. So in the morning, instead of, if I'm out, kind of by the woods in nature, I don't have a stove around or access to kind of the preparation for coffee. So I make it ahead of time, put it in here. I've also, I think, used this for wine. I think I've put wine in here. I think I've also made margaritas and put them in here. That is true because when I lived in Chicago, we had a rooftop 15 stories up, and sometimes I would go up there and read or do some work. And it'd be a beautiful spring or summer day, and I would make a margarita for myself and put it in here so it stays cool and cold, and the ice not melt. I think I did that once for the solar eclipse as well. My neighbors and I went up to the rooftop. Really nice rooftop, looking over the skyline of Chicago and Lake Michigan and the park. And it's nice to have a container to put a margarita in. That was a really cool event. Not that it was planned, it was nature, and it comes every 100 years or something. But the feeling of togetherness, it felt like culturally it was a thing that brought everyone together. An experience that we're all now kind of in our own pockets and niches, and our paths of interest in our lives, and certainly culturally we just don't overlap much anymore as a monolith unit. And I was really energized how the solar eclipse, the last big one, really brought people together. So what was an experience that you've had that you felt that way, where it brought together the neighborhood and maybe even larger aspects of your community, city, state, region, or maybe the U.S. as a whole, and it was a very good collective feeling, a warmth of unity. time. Okay. It feels so tangible to see your work. Digging up the ground in the field. Feels good to finish. You have this vastness of land, and you start, and you make progress on it, and then when you're finished, you look at it, and you're just really proud that look at all that you did. What's something tangible that you do that makes you feel like you did something or were productive? So like something we work on that we can get tangible results quickly. Like we see the tangibility of it. Like what we're doing right now, and this like self-reflection, taking a step back, thinking more about life, the results from that, the tangibility from it are not going to be immediate. But it's through repetition and through like the habit of it that it will eventually become tangible. So what's something though that where you put in work and pretty right away you get results? Like today, I'm working up the field, and then when I'm done, I can see it. Or what I've enjoyed about podcasts, doing the podcast over the years, is when I record an episode and then put out an episode, it's very tangible. But if I'm like working on a book, it's a little bit more of a concept of art, and it doesn't get put out as much, so it's kind of less tangible. If I'm writing a novel, I've written a novel every day for months, and eventually it's 80,000 words, but no one sees it. It's just like this constant work on it. It's like that's not an example of something tangible. There's not an immediate result. Tangibility. Yes, it's a work of art, these fields. I enjoy it too, like when I work up the ground, you'll see very close behind you are hawks, and they just circle because they're waiting. They're looking for prey whose environment has been disrupted through like the tractor coming through the field. So especially like during harvest season, when we're on the combine and we're taking off corn stalks or soybeans, rabbits now can't hide. Mice cannot hide. So they're out in the open, and the hawks are circling. And the seagulls will be very present because we're overturning the dirt, the ground, and so worms are very accessible. The accessibility to worms is much more immense. So what is a result, a reaction from one of our actions? So what's an external reaction we've noticed from our individual actions? Get creative. Be open with it. I was thinking when I had mentioned coffee supply, Ben Franklin popped in my head. Ben's my guy. I like Ben Franklin a lot, and I've done the Myers-Briggs test, and I walk kind of a line between ENFP and ENTP. And Ben Franklin was an ENTP, so I like learning about people who kind of have same Myers-Briggs types as myself. It's something I will explore, but I'm not super obsessed with it. But I've on the tractor, I've listened to the Ben Franklin audiobooks. There's two. There's the autobiography, which he made as a self-improvement, self-development tool for himself. And then there's the biography by Walter Isaacson. I view Walter Isaacson as the premier biographer of the 21st century, I would say. But anyways, the reason I brought that up is at the beginning of this year, I did no caffeine for 23 days. 23 because of Michael Jordan. And during this time, I would do a little research. It's when I don't have caffeine, that's when I do research on caffeine. The previous time was over the summer, and I was learning about the history of caffeine, coffee. But Ben Franklin would bring his own supply with him of coffee when he traveled, just in case rations were out on ships or whatever. I learned that Napoleon drank 2 cups of coffee at breakfast and 2 cups of coffee at dinner. And Thomas Jefferson had 60, what was it? It was 60 pounds. It was either 60 pound barrels or 60 barrels doesn't seem reasonable. He had barrels of unroasted coffee beans in his basement, or a storage unit on his estate. Teddy Roosevelt, big coffee guy. So when I'm on the tractor, I identify in that nature. What's something that you're that way about? Maybe it is coffee for you. Maybe it's gum. Chewing gum. Maybe you like chewing gum. I don't know. But what's something where addicted is not the correct word, but you consider it an essential, you know? Maybe it's an umbrella, maybe it's a purse, or I don't know. But what's something like that for you? I don't want to go too much on this coffee thing, but talking about coffee, well, it's something that's a part of my life, so I'm sharing this. Like in that thermos, I put 4 espresso shots with hot water. Now it seems like a lot, but when I've talked to other people who don't drink espresso, you know, they think the number 4 and that's a lot. But the caffeine content in espresso is less than like a cup of coffee from an auto drip machine. And at the farmhouse, I have an espresso machine and I drink espresso. But at the office, I have an auto drip coffee machine. And I can attest to the caffeine content being much higher from the auto drip than the espresso. I get wired at the office. So much so that it, like, my mind gets numb, and I have to take a step back. I have to take a time out, especially looking at a computer screen, because I'm mainly at the office because of Wi-Fi. Because I don't use Wi-Fi. I don't have Wi-Fi at the farmhouse. Let's take a quick inventory of how we use the internet, Wi-Fi in particular. For what circumstances, what things do we use Wi-Fi for? I'm not talking like data on your phone necessarily, I'm talking Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi internet. So living without Wi-Fi, living like where I live, not having Wi-Fi for maybe 10 months now. I've made some observations, and the biggest thing is that, well, I feel relaxed. Oh, there's a hawk. There's a hawk on the ground. Wonder if he caught a mouse, field mouse. I don't feel like I always have to be connected, and I find it almost disgusting to always feel I have to be connected so I can stream something or watch stuff on YouTube and just kind of always have something on in the background in a sense. I'm a lot more intentional about what I consume, and I've gone back to DVDs. I never thought that would be the thing, but I watch things on DVDs. I borrow DVDs from the library. But it's like at night I'm watching something that's really curated to what I want to be doing rather than I'm speaking for myself, I would spend so much time browsing. I would browse the internet and streaming services in particular, whether it's Amazon Prime, Netflix, YouTube. Spend so much time browsing. 40 minutes would pass because I nothing was really perfect. Nothing was truly what I wanted to be watching. And then I would just not consume anything. But being more intentional, like choosing something ahead of time, it's something that I look forward to every night. Like kind of winding down, and I watched How I Met Your Mother through season 6. Like every night I would watch like 1 to 2 episodes and then go to bed, and that was it, you know. Mad Men. I was doing Mad Men. I got through season 1, but the library doesn't have season 2, so I got to figure out how to attain that on DVD. I don't know what the question was. What are you curious about? What's something you could be more intentional with? Yeah, we can just put a little bit more thought into it, and through that process of putting more thought into it, we can extract more joy from it. You know, our experience will be enhanced and richer. And let's start wrapping up. We're coming up here on our closing time. What are we energized for in the next week? What are we energized for in the next week? I'll share mine, and that's I'm working on publishing 3 different books at the end of May. Since it's 2025, I always aim for the 25th of the month to be the deadline to publish these books. And this week I'm putting everything together. Last week was like getting some pieces together, more visualization, and yesterday I had a fantastic day with some team members, and it clarified a lot of things and moves to do for what we should do with the books in the creation process. Stuff like fonts. Fonts are so small, but they're so big, you know, and that affects everything, and design elements and titles of books, covers, and all of that. Really great to get feedback, and I'm energized to be working on that and put the final touches on it, full throttle, and then release them into the wild, to the world. That's something I'm energized for. And my sister is due with her 3rd child any day now, so it'll be cool to have another niece or nephew. It's fun. So, all right, thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to listen or watch this, take notes on your own life and responses to just some questions that we could answer. Again, this is not a tangible thing that we're doing, and that can be frustrating at times, but you'll be astonished when they do become tangible. When they become tangible, it's so beautiful. It's amazing. It's the best. And you'll be really proud of the fact that you did put in this work and you did take the time to put thought into your life. So thank you again for being here. Inspire the future.